so that I don't forget. And we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Okay, welcome guys to week 3. I mean, this is like the roller coaster ride. And you're going across that first hurdle. But there's not but 3 more hurdles and they'll come fast. So I have to keep reminding you of that. But welcome to week 3. And I just want to go ahead and let you know up front, our agenda for today. I'm going to talk about just your weekly agenda overview. Some comments about assignment number 2. Comments about your peer reviews for the CAAP that you should have completed already for task 1. We're going to look at just a review of the weekly assignments for week 3, and that is your case study. I just want to comment on that and just re-emphasize some of the assignment work coming up, just to remind you of your responsibilities to make sure that you are planning ahead of time and not waiting until the last day and thinking that or last couple of days and thinking you're going to be able to accomplish that much work in a short period of time, because it won't happen if you don't plan ahead of time. So it'll be wise to look at those assignments ahead of time and start preparing. I'm going to go back and review very, very briefly CAAP Task 2 and go into Task 3, because some of you are already into Task 3. So I just want to do some reminders there. I'll talk about what is due next week. Dr. Revis will have some comments about, if necessary, about task stream requirements coming up, because that will be here sooner than later. And then I'd like to spend a little bit of time, Dr. Revis and me. I have a PowerPoint ready, and this is going to lead into work that you will begin looking at with your CAAP work. We want to talk about the school's vision and the mission. So I have a PowerPoint prepared for that. So that's where we are today. Just want to remind you, this is in your Blackboard shell. This is where we are, week 3. This is your required readings right here. Please make sure you're keeping up and you're realizing that the assignment work is related back to these readings that you're doing. This is assignment 3, and just remember that assignment 3 is your first case study. It's a loaded case study. I don't know how many of you have read it yet, but that's a pretty loaded case study. It's going to challenge your thinking a lot. And again, you should be able to reflect back to school law from last semester, and a lot of what was said, you should be able to tag it, to or reference it to, the work that you're doing with the case study. There's a lot of legalities involved in that, so please, feel free to include that in your comment work. And I expect to hear it when you do your recording. I expect to hear the things that you've learned in your previous classes, and I don't want your opinion. Your opinion doesn't count on this. We need to know, the facts, and we need to know, based on the law and policy and procedures, how do you handle these things? Because I promise you, you may think that this is far-fetched, but Dr. Revis and we could tell you some war stories about things that we have had to deal with as administrators. It would blow your mind, some of the stuff that I've had to deal with. But just take it seriously. Just remember that this is due Sunday, so you need to have you should have already planned when your Zoom team's going to meet. If you haven't, that needs to happen immediately. And I wouldn't let tonight go by that I didn't have that plan. And you need to go ahead and decide, when that's going to happen and who's going to be the Zoom team leader to send out the link and take care of things this time. So any questions about your assignment for next week? Okay. And there are other there are other case studies, so you may want to go ahead while you're planning this Zoom session. Go ahead and plan who's going to handle the next one, who's going to handle the last one, who's going to handle the session on the Strengths Finder assessment when it comes up week 8. Those, and then who's going to lead off on week 11 with the assignment that Dr. Revis is going to lead off on or take charge of for me. So you need to go ahead and decide from your teams who's going to take care of those so that they can go ahead and mark it in their calendars and be prepared for it. Make sure that you are already working on that strengths-based assessment reading. You need to pace yourself out. I would underline, I would highlight in that book. The notes the prompts that I've provided in the assignment, I would read those ahead of time because you will identify them as you're reading, highlight those things, make notes in there, and begin, as you're reading, go ahead and respond to them instead of having to go back and to find all that stuff, after you've read. I just work smart with it. Want to talk about your comments about your assignment 2. I received some very, very high quality work from many of you. There's some that could have been better. I'm just going to be honest with you. But again, all I can do is tell you and just remind you that anything that you write, your work is a reflection of you. So I would expect you to want whoever is reading your work to get the best impression that they can of you, whether it's me or whether it's your superintendent, whether it's the principal that you're working with. So, at all times, make sure that you're providing the best quality work that you can find. I'm going to remind you again. Grammar is important. Again, that reflects you. So I wouldn't send anything out to anybody that's going to be assessing my work if I didn't feel like that it was quality work. So, again, I can only tell you and remind you, but this is the 3rd week and I shouldn't have to be saying that again. There's a reason for it. So make sure that you're checking behind yourself. And if it's not your strength, get somebody to look at it for you. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not everybody's, forte. So if it isn't, then, do what you need to do. I'd like to, let me see where I want to go. Let me pull this up. Let me go back to task 1 is history, unless you need help from Dr. Revis. I don't have everybody's task 1, and I've sent emails out. I should have everybody's task 1, and everything with week 2 should be really completed. It's not a lot, but there's some of you that still owe me some work. So if I sent you an email yesterday reminding you of some things, please make sure that you go ahead and get that into me. And I'm going to come back to something. Oh, your peer reviews. It was a misunderstanding on a few's part, but they didn't realize that some didn't realize that they had to submit that peer review for a grade for me as well. When you submit task 1, or when you go to your CAAP task assignments where I give you a grade, if you scroll down to the bottom, you will see a place for your 4 peer reviews that you have to do. Peer review 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is where you put your peer review in for a grade for me. And some did not scroll down far enough and didn't see it. So there's 3 or 4 of you that still owe me your task 1 peer review. So please get that in. But if at all possible, don't wait until the end of the week to, you know, you shouldn't be submitting work if at all possible at the very end. It makes it a little bit hard for the person doing your peer reviews to look at it and to give you any quality feedback that you can use if you need to use it. So, I know it's a lot. It's a fast-paced thing, but just reminder that you must get those peer reviews in as well on schedule. So if you owe me work, get me the work. If you're having problems with task one or you haven't completed task one, then you need to reach out to Dr. Revis, who is your clinical coach too, and she will guide you with any assistance that you need with that. We're going to move on to task two. I have had 3 students to successfully submit task two. I made brief comments on a couple of them, waiting for them to submit the final task. Ashley, congratulations. She has already completed task two and is already into task three. Excellent work. So I know that the process is understandable because of the work that I'm receiving, Dr. Revis. Just a reminder in task two that this is the second of the analyses. It's the school environmental analysis. And remember, I told you that they build on each other. In this one, you're going to use quantitative data, those are numbers, the real numbers, to help you understand the staff perceptions of the school environment. And remember, I told you when you go to that link with the North Carolina Teacher Working Condition Survey, that there are 3 columns. Use the middle column. If you go to the third column, you're going to see a lot of color, a lot of fancy stuff. It's too much. The second one provides you the most succinct information and the best information that you can use for these purposes. I'm not saying that you don't need that and can't use it, but for these purposes, go to that middle column and use it. And with that, you'll review the summary results. You're using quantitative. When you do that, you're using quantitative data when you use the percentages, etc. there. Let me see. In addition to using the existing data and information, you're going to you will be responsible for engaging in qualitative research, and this is going to be done through the following, in addition to any other methods that you can think of. And remember, I said that you could survey through SurveyMonkey, Google Doc, it doesn't matter. It could be a handout survey. I don't care how you do it, but you're going to go back and you're going to revisit questions used in the Teacher Working Condition Survey or similar instrument or tool. And I would go back and I would, in the areas that you're visiting, go back and look at the same questions all over again. It's been a while since that survey has been implemented. A lot has happened since then, and just see if you can gauge, whether the staff, whether it's the same, whether attitudes and feelings have changed. Again, I reminded you, you could have had a change in administration. That will make all the difference in the world in how people look at things a second go round. So don't make it difficult. Use some of the same questions that are already built in there for you. And this came actually from last year, but we're still dealing with it somewhat. If you're dealing with a COVID-related situation, I don't know where your districts are with things, but just remember that you can form a focus group and you can set up a Zoom session for your qualitative interview questions and discussions. You can also conduct one-on-one interviews via Zoom or over the phone, and you'll just script your answers, and that will be included in your narrative work. And you'll explain exactly what you've done, that you set up a focus group, who it consisted of, blah, blah, blah. You can just move on with that. Candidates must demonstrate how the qualitative data collected through the surveys and observations, and this can be based on your observations of what you see. You live there. You know your school. Some of this is valid information because you know what you see and what you know things about your school. That is qualitative information as well. And interviews complements existing published data about the school environment that details student achievement, student and staff cultural diversity, including exceptionalities, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender, and other differences that may exist in the school and community to provide a more complete view. I would include all that stuff. And if there's more, include that. Use information from your most recent school report card and any other sources for collecting data. This information is public knowledge and should be available online for all of you. Now, is this your first rodeo with all this? Well, no. How many times have you been working with some of that same information from day one? Don't reinvent the wheel. Go back and find it. If it was in the APSL, use it. If it was in the APTEL, use it. If it was in the OMA, use it. If it was in the SCIP, use it. You know, don't make work harder for you if you've already got it and it's already built in some of the previous work that you've done. Now, I want you to note that accomplished work for the CAAP will interpret raw data collected in the school and will graphically present the data within the context of the narrative in a manner that informs beyond existing quantitative data. In other words, you know what's there. You want to provide some new information based on what you've been doing. All forms of data, completed surveys, checklists, etc., should be provided as visual evidence and shown as figures in your work. I'm going to ask, are there any questions about what is being required of you for task 2? Okay, everybody good?
I have a question, Dr.
Okay,
I know
Latasha.
with me being in South Carolina, and I know I mentioned in my paper that some of we didn't have a lot of detail. Is it okay to add a few questions when we do the resurvey to be more specific?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And again, South Carolina, you have to be a little more creative than North Carolina. But again, Latasha, actually, you can go to the teacher working condition survey from North Carolina and actually pull those same questions and use them.
That's what I did. I pulled some
Okay.
questions from the survey.
Okay, you're on target then. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Okay.
If we do a survey, do we have to do the interviews?
No, you don't. Well, they do require some qualitative study in there, Penny. I would say yes. If you don't, then your evaluator is going to look to see that that component has been met, and you're going to be marked down if you don't have some of that in there. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it extensively, but I would pull together. I would actually do it as a focus group, and take your team, the team that you pulled together already, use them and interview them. You don't have to go find new people.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions?
Dr. Stebbin, I have a question.
Sure.
If they made their survey in terms of open-ended responses, that is their qualitative as well, correct?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Evans. Absolutely. And you know what, Penny, that would serve two purposes. But if it's just a cut and dry answer, then that would not be enough for the qualitative part of it.
Okay, my answers were pretty much like the teacher working condition survey. So I'll just pull my group together.
Okay. And again, you don't have to make it a long order. I would spend 10, 15 minutes with them and get some good responses from them. Okay.
One of the hardest things for candidates to show is how you graphically display those qualitative responses. So, going back, Penny, to what Dr. Stebbin's saying, select the areas or the questions that you keep getting my responses on and formulate some open-ended questions about those things. And I've seen people be able to do it very in the form of a table well, you're going to call it a figure, but in form of a table kind of thing.
Right.
If you don't have a qualitative data, Dr. Stebbins right, that evaluator will mark you down.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And then again, those teacher working condition survey questions, you can take any of them and convert it into an open-ended question. Any of those can be. Or you can adapt it. And just a reminder, task 3, some of you will get started on that this week. So I just want to quickly just remind you that this is the cultural competence analysis. This is the third of the 3 analyses that you'll be conducting. I gave you a good definition of what cultural competence is. I'm not going to go back and read that again. And what you're going to do is you're going to measure the level of cultural competence. What is the level on a thermometer? Where are you as it relates to cultural competence, an understanding of the culture of your school and the students, the staff, the community? What is the you're going to measure that? It's like a thermometer. Where does it go on the thermometer? Okay. And you're going to do this through consumer research, such as internet searches on school websites, or qualitative methods as used in task 2, or a combination of both. Now, what you're going to do, and we're going to start, I'm going to introduce this tonight. This is where what Dr. Revitz and I are going to talk about tonight, this will play into task 3. You're going to actually look at what is your existing vision and mission for your school. You're going to write it out. Our school vision is, our school mission is. You and your team are going to, you're going to tear it apart. You're going to analyze it. You're going to talk about it. You know, you're going to find out whether it's a good vision and a mission, whether it's one that works, whether it's just a bunch of words. And we'll talk about that more. Then you're going to look at school leadership. Now, this is where some of you get scared a little bit, but you shouldn't. This is actually in your teacher working condition survey, or in South Carolina, it's in advanced ed or cognitive. You will find that it addresses school leadership. Now, what does the staff say about the school leadership based on the most recent teacher working condition survey? Now, you're going to look at that, and you're going to go back and you're going to pull some of those same questions, and you're going to survey a group of your staff again to see, you know, what are the issues there. Now, you're going to be careful, you know, how you address this, because you've got to present this. You've got to be careful with it and sensitive to the fact that, you know, you don't want to offend anybody, but, you know, again, it's out there, it's public knowledge already, you know, with the teacher working condition survey. And this just is going to give you something that, you know, if your staff feels like that they don't feel comfortable that they're being listened to by administration enough, then, you know, you're going to have to say, you know, based on the survey, this is an area that we have that it seems to be a concern. How can we address this so that the next time we have our teacher working condition survey, that we have improved in that area? Because this does affect the culture of your school. Principals determine whether, actually, they determine whether you laugh or you cry on any given day. So, you know, so just know that, just be careful with that, but still do what needs to be done. You're going to look at teacher quality as measured by experience and certifications. You know, when you look at the experience and the certifications and the qualifications of your staff, you know, do you have an all veteran staff? Do you have a pretty BT staff? You know, because if it's a beginning teacher staff, you know, there's a lot of, it doesn't mean that beginning teachers are bad. It just means that they don't have any experience. You know, So is there a balance? You need to look at those kinds. What kind of parental involvement and support do you have in the school? What does it look like in your school? And again, that's where some qualitative work can come in, because you can actually interview your administration about this, or your teachers at your school. You can interview your school improvement team. You can interview your PTA president. There's just parents, a parent at random, or a couple of parents at random. You can talk about, how do you feel about, involvement, your involvement at the school, and just be candid about it. You may want to ask 4 or 5 people outside of the school to complete a survey for you that's related on that. That's perfectly okay. Conflict resolution. How do you deal with problems in the school? This would be based on law, local policy and procedures, etc. Now, I want you to notice I've bulleted these items. Every one of these must be addressed. That's your heading, and then you're gonna write under it, what you need to write under your narrative work. And then student achievement. Guess what? Natasha, it's like I said before, you've done this since Noah's Ark. Every assignment that you've done, you've had to talk about student achievement and test scores as it relates to your school. Now, after you get through all of this analysis must contain a list of recommendations that includes specific activities and programs designed to present an action plan that will improve the culture of the school. Remember, you've got 3 analyses, and I'm not going to talk about task 4. Once you get to these 3, I'm going to tell you how you're going to put all of this together. 1, 2, and 3, you can put it all together into a beautiful action plan, and you're going to talk about it in the conclusion. All of this will come together. It'll put the puzzle together for you. So I will look at this again next week briefly, but then I will go into task 4 next week. Are there any questions at this point for anybody that's already at this place? Do I need to go back and look at anything about task 3 before we move on? Okay. Let me minimize that. And then I want to bring up one more document before I go into. This is what I want to bring up. Okay. Again, our goal is to always be accomplished. You're completing task 2 this week. Now, I'm going to tell you, task 2 should be ready. I should have looked at task 2 before Sunday, and I should have given you some feedback on it, and your peers should have an opportunity to do that as well. But I, at a minimum, Dr. Stebbins should have looked at your task 2, and you should be able to have the clearance from me to move on and submit it by Sunday evening with some recommendations, or I will tell you, no, you need to go back and fix this, and you need to resubmit it for me to look at again. Now, if you wait until Sunday to do this, then you're already behind the 8 ball. That means you're already behind, because when Sunday's over with, come Monday, guess what you should already be starting on? Task 3. Okay? So this is what you have to do with task 2 to be considered with accomplished work. Your school environmental analysis includes a thorough. Wonder why they underline thorough? They're emphasizing it for a reason. Description of the qualitative research process utilized by the candidate with multiple data sources indicated. Penny, that goes back, that's kind of what we were talking about there. They're going to look at that to see that there's multiple ways of doing things, and that you were thorough with it. So the analysis includes descriptions of the school environment, student achievement, student and staff cultural diversity, including exceptionalities, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender, and other differences that may exist in the schooling community. Now, other means that you can add to it. All of this other means that what? That I should see it. If it's in black there, I should see it. And this gives you the option of adding to that if there's something in addition to all of this that has not been mentioned. Now notice that connecting word there. You got to do all that, and guess what? And you've got to include this. Qualitative data is graphically presented, what Dr. Revis was talking about, and explained in the narrative. Guess what? You got another and in there. That means you got to do something else. There is visual evidence that this was professionally presented to administration or the SIT using complex technology. So it may be just to your principal, but when you complete this, that's why you can't wait until Sunday, because guess who's not going to be at work on Sunday? Your principal. So you've got to work on this so that you can go over this with your principal before you submit it on Sunday for a final grade. Make sure that you are balancing your time this week so that come Friday, that by Friday, Dr. Revis, this is just me. By Thursday, I'd have this knocked out and I wouldn't have to worry about it on Friday. So do what you got to do. Okay. So do you understand what you've got to do to have accomplished work? Now, if you don't have all this, guess what? It's automatically going to go back to here. Automatically. That's the next gauge. So make sure that you're not missing out on anything there. Okay. Dr. Revis, anything that you need to say before I move on to our PowerPoint?
No, I think you've got it nailed down. Guys, your evaluator is going to use that rubric when they evaluate. That's exactly what pops up when your work pops up for them, is that rubric. And, you can see very clearly, if you don't do that presentation to your administrator, you go down to that proficient level right there.
And we don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Dr. Revis, I want you to join in at any time as I'm going through this. But this week and next week, we're going to spend some time talking about developing a vision and a mission for your school. I'm going to talk about mission a little bit this evening, but it's mainly going to be about vision, and then mission will come in to play next week. But I want you to look at the title, Developing a Vision and a Mission for Your School, and then it asks a question. Where are we going, and how are we going to get there? What is the vision of a school? Look at the bullets. A vision is your school's goal, indicating where you want to be in the future. As the leader, as the principal of your school, you must set a vision for your school. Now, are you going to be on an island by yourself? No. You are going to lead the vision. You may have your thoughts, and you're going to, but you can't just say, okay, this is the vision of our school. It must be a collaborative process. There must be buy-in from all the stakeholders for it to be a workable, living vision for your school. But as a principal, you've got to say, where do I want my school to be in the future? A vision is concise and it's easy to recall. Now, I'm not going to ask you to do it, but if I stop right now, stop sharing, and I came on and I went down the list, and I'm going to pick on Latasha and Penny because that's who I can see right now. And I said, okay, Latasha, and do my finger like that. What is the vision of your school? Penny, what is the vision of your school? You see, does your vision, but does the vision at your school right now, does it mean anything? You don't have to answer, but you need to think about it. Okay. It should be concise and easy to recall. Any comments at this point, Dr. Revis?
No, I think I'm glad you made the point of, our vision becomes too lofty and then nobody remembers it.
Exactly.
I like it to be catchy too, so that everybody can remember.
Exactly. Okay. Now, I'm not going to camp out here, but you need to have an idea of what the mission is to be able to understand what the vision is. What is the mission of a school? The mission of a school provides an overview of the steps planned to achieve that future. It looks like an action plan to me, Dr. Revis. It looks to me like if you come up with the vision, that this is your action plan of how you're going to accomplish that vision. Now, a mission is lengthier and it's more explanatory in nature. It should be, because it is the step-by-step process of, once you identify what that vision is, it's the step-by-step process of what you're going to do to get from point A to point B. Your school must have a vision that all staff members recognize as a common direction of growth, something that inspires them to be better. I'm going to ask you again. What is your school vision? Does your school vision inspire you to do better? An effective vision also announces to parents and students where you are heading and why they should take the trip with you. So guess what? It's not just about teachers. It's about students. It's about parents. It's about all the stakeholders that are connected with your school. Wonder how many parents can tell you what the vision of your school is. What is the vision statement? Do they know? Do the students at your school, do they know what the vision for the school is? Do they know what the vision statement is? I'm just asking. Okay. Now, let's camp out here for a minute. A point to ponder. One of the most important responsibilities of any leader is establishing a vision and inviting others to share in its development. Dr. Revis, would you like to make a comment there before I go any further?
Well, I think it's not only just establishing that vision, but it's keeping it in the forefront of everybody's mind. It needs to be plastered on the walls. It needs to be on, any kind of publications that you send out. It just needs to become the byline of why we exist. And again, asking others to share in its development is a great idea, because we know when we ask people to collaborate, that they build that buy-in, but you've got to keep it out there in the forefront. And
I'm going to ask you again, and I want to move on. What is the vision of your school, and does it mean anything? Okay. Eliminating obstacles. One of the first obstacles that will come up is people's fear of change. None of us like, the only person that likes change is a baby when their diaper needs changing. Nobody else wants change but a baby. So people are very reluctant to change. So you've got to eliminate that obstacle. People's got to feel comfortable. You as a leader have to set the tone for that, the stage for all that. Your people it can't be like a dictator type ship and a dominate that you will do this, or, there has to be a comfort level in working on these things. Listening to and validating staff members' thoughts will help them cope with the change as they ask themselves the following questions, and let's look at what they are. What is the need for new vision? Why do we even need it? Will I be able to live with the new vision? Will I be able to support the new vision? What will the new vision expect of me? How will my world change as a result? Will I be able to continue doing what I've always done? Why or why not? Do I believe in the new vision? Do I believe in my school's ability to achieve this vision? Do I believe I can make the vision happen? Another potential obstacle to creating a powerful vision is the reality that vision statements are often created briefly and lacks follow through. Case in point, they are usually many times they are the result of a directive to, quote, get it done by a certain date and delivered to a central office supervisor. Every one of you can remember with site visits from DPI or through accreditation or something like that, where they come and you put all this fancy stuff together for that one day when people came to visit your school. Well, now after that one day, does it live after that day? Dr. Revis, I bet you led a lot of site visits for accreditation, didn't you?
Oh, yes. And we got nailed one time in our visit because people just didn't know that vision statement right off the top of their head. That's why, guys, it's got to be a collective process, but it has to be catchy as well. So
Right.
remember it.
Another point to ponder. Don't rush the vision statement. Doing so leads to skepticism. It leads to stress. It leads to distrust, which will lead to a statement that will eventually be ignored. I'm going to ask you again. What is the vision statement for your school? Does it mean anything? Is it doing what it's supposed to do? Another point to ponder. I want you to ask yourself, do I understand what this organization values? Do you understand what your school values? Do you understand what your school believes in and what your school hopes to be? That's all a part of what that vision statement is. With your staff or with your team, you should share examples of vision statements. When you meet with your team, sharing examples of vision statements with them is an important first step. You give them some bad stuff too, a lot of bad stuff to look at, because they need to see what things shouldn't be. This will help them better understand what a vision statement is, which in turn will help them assist the faculty when they facilitate its work. This is with your team. It's easy to find examples of real vision statements on the internet. I went back and did a search, and there are lots of areas where you can do that. These are just some samples of some vision statements. Every Freedom Patriot student will achieve personal success and become a responsible and productive citizen. I'm not saying these are good or bad. I'm just these. Another one, our vision as a community is to inspire a passion for learning. Another one, all Freedom High School students will achieve personal success in their learning and become responsible and productive citizens. Let me see it. Continuing. Oh, that's it. Trying to get the same one to come up again. 13. After presenting, this is what you do. After presenting lots of examples to your team, give them time to discuss their impressions of them with one another. And then you're to lead a discussion with the entire team. You can ask the following questions to generate some dialogue on the statements. This is going to help you. This actually, if you choose to do this, you don't have to. This will help you with some of your qualitative work that you're going to be doing with this assignment. Examples of vision statements can you? What patterns do you see in the statements? What do you like or dislike in the statements? Are the statements easy to understand? Are the statements too vague, or are they specific enough? Are they too long? Are they too short? Do the statements express an idea or a hope for the future? Are they too unambitious? Are they too much pie in the sky? You know, this is too good to be true. Do they contain adjectives or goals that are more appropriate for a mission statement? Too wordy. Do they clarify a direction for the school and for its improvement efforts? You should also make sure to have a copy of your school's current vision statement at the meeting so that participants can compare it with these examples. In other words, this is your opportunity to fully analyze and tear it apart, look at it upside down, sideways, and it may be the best thing since sliced bread. If it is, then you identify it, you know, but you need to know if your vision statement is doing what it needs to do for your school. Present data to the team. Before you involve the entire school in working toward a vision, you should first share some data with the team. Sharing this data is important for two reasons. Okay, all right, let me come on down. First, you want the team to be familiar and comfortable with the data. Since team members will in turn be sharing the data with the faculty, they should have a strong working knowledge of them so that they are equipped to answer questions and help the staff understand what they're looking for. And then secondly, only when schools develop a shared understanding of current reality can a commitment to change be initiated and sustained. Reviewing data as a team and then as a faculty is essential to helping everyone identify where the school currently stands while also determining where they would like to be. Without a general understanding of current data, the development of the vision could go in as many directions as there are opinions. The data provide a common objective understanding and a solid foundation to build on. So you as the leader, you have to go in equipping them with something to work with. Any comments, Dr. Revis, at this time?
I don't think so. I do think you always have to start with your data.
Okay.
Regardless of really what you're doing in school improvement, you always start with your data. And, you know, there are very few schools now, I hope, nowadays, that are not comfortable at looking at student achievement data and other data points from your school. But, you know, you may have the rare exception at your school, but putting data in front of your staff is the only way you're going to know where you are, your current state, and where you want to go.
You're exactly right. Now, guess what? Remember when you did the APSL? Remember when you did the APTEL and you did, this is the same stuff all over again. This is data that you're going to present. The team and eventually the faculty should review, but not limited to the following. Look at it. Student attendance rates, student tardies, staff attendance rates and days most often missed, department or grade level staff absenteeism, staff turnover rates, student enrollment in sports or clubs. Let's see, here's some more. Disciplinary incidents, state assessment results, local common assessment results, standardized achievement test results, advanced placement, AP results, and it goes on and on and on. But all of this must be analyzed as you are presenting data to your school, because all of this is going to determine the direction that you're going to go in with establishing that vision statement. Okay. Involve staff in developing the vision. At this point, the team that you're working with, should involve the rest of the faculty in developing the vision statement. Make sure the staff is provided clear directions, specific questions, and definite time limits. The faculty will quickly discern fluff or lack of organization, which will immediately turn them off. After they have had an opportunity to review and discuss the above items, they can craft their vision statements. Involve the staff in developing the vision. Again, this is what, again, you divide the staff into small groups. These are things that they do. You have, this is under week 3 in your in Blackboard. So you have access to this. Go back and look at it. I'm not going to go over that. This is the point to ponder. Key ideas, values, and beliefs are the beginning of a powerful vision. And this tells you step by step how you would involve the staff. I'm not going to go, this is there for your perusal and for your use if you choose to. Again, this continues to tell you what you do with a staff. Another point to ponder. When developing a vision, remember that less can be more. Keep it short, and your staff will remember it longer. Okay. And after you've done all that, the team then unveils the vision statement to the entire staff at the next faculty meeting. At this point, you should celebrate your staff's considerable accomplishment in guiding school improvement efforts. You have set the stage for it, and then eventually it comes before the whole staff, and the staff actually has buy-in until you get a consensus that this is what everybody feels like that they can live with, what is applicable to your school, and what's going to work for the culture of your school. The next steps, drafting the mission statement and using vision and mission to focus on school improvement. Next week, we're going to talk about you have a vision for the school. Now, the mission is going to be how we're going to accomplish that. Okay, any questions at this point? Any questions from anybody at this point? Okay, now remember, if you owe me something, I want it. I want my work. Okay, I want it now. So get it to me. If you're behind it all, remember, reach out to Dr. Revis. Dr. Revis will help you with a plan to keep it. I promise you, if you don't do this every week, you're going to struggle. You have to keep up. And I know you're going to get tired of me saying that. You're going to get tired of my emails. Guess what? You're going to have to get tired of them because I'm not stopping. I know I want you to finish successfully, so I will not stop. You'll love me after it's all over with. But right now, you might not like me. You can call me a name. I don't care. I just want you to be successful, and I want you to finish well. Okay.
Hey guys, I'm the good guy. I'm the one that'll help you get there. He's the bad guy.
And I'm really not, but I want you to finish well. You just don't know how badly I take it seriously, and I think y'all have figured that out. I take my work seriously. I take what I do for you seriously. So I truly care. And I think you have found you don't have to submit work to me, and you get feedback pretty fast from me. I don't let it, I check it several times during the day. I worked all weekend and I was at the beach. It was cold Sunday. I had to come home. It was cold. down there. Any questions before we leave? Dr. Evis, if you would give the benediction.
Oh, well, I just want to say you do respond very quickly to them, and I work hard to try to keep your pace and don't always do it. But, you know, guys, if you're submitting task 1 to me on Saturday night and it's due Sunday morning or Sunday night to Dr. Stedman, that you're putting both of us in a box, and that's tough for both of us to work out of. I like to think I work 7 days a week, but sometimes on Saturday evenings, I just don't work. I'll be honest with you. But I do hit it on Sunday. But, you know, just don't, if you want my feedback, give us time to go through that. Let me give you your feedback and you have time to think about it and revise something. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time.
Yeah, now on Sunday morning, I will check it before I go to church. But I travel about 30 minutes to get to my church, and then we do a full choir rehearsal before our church starts. So that's my favorite time of the week. So I'm not gonna miss. You won't get any, you know, I want you to be in church too, but if you don't, then you're not gonna get anything from me until after I get back from church, and usually after I eat lunch. And but after that, Sunday afternoon, I'm good to go again. Okay. Everybody good?
You're a tough act to follow, Dr. Stedman.
Nah. Let me see. Make sure we've gotten, all the answers. Everybody's been, chats have been answered. So anything else? Good for time. Anybody won't say anything? Okay. I will see you next Tuesday. And again, get me my work. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.